And I can't think of the other powers right now, but they were given different powers. The dark side of things, though, the skeleton warriors, if you will, were given the Heart of Darkness. The main leader there was a Baron von something, Dark or something like that. And he used the Heartstone, as they called it, to turn himself into a living skeleton. And he used it to basically turn anybody that had just a bit or sliver bit of evilness or darkness in them into skeleton warriors as well. Basically, his entire army were living, breathing skeletons. Undead, if you will. Now, of course, if anybody's curious, yes, the skeleton warriors did not really die. They basically got reverted back to normal thanks to the princess, who had the power of flight and other powers as well, was able to figure this out. Now, I don't know if they got returned back to normal towards the end, or what, but who's to say they did or they didn't. Point is, Skeleton Warriors was another animated series. Now, this show, of course, if I'll look it up, was developed by the same people. I think they were behind Captain Power. Yeah, I believe they were behind Captain... Oops. And my thing just crashed on me. Oh, it's rebooting, I don't know. But it was something like Gary Licensing or something. But they was obviously the same people behind Captain Power, because if you take a look at the DVD releases, the covers are very, very similar. So apparently it had to be the same people. But with that said, the series was very dark, and just like WildC.A.T.S lasted one season. The reason it lasted one season, of course, it was again, just like with WildC.A.T.S, CBS had to fulfill their part of the agreement. And of course, like I said, what network wants to face any legal action for falling against their agreement, even after a studio produces so many episodes for you? Why would you go against it? You wouldn't. Like I said, why would you go against it? You wouldn't want to go against it. So, yeah, Skeleton Warriors lasted, just like WildC.A.T.S, for one season, for basically the inaugural season of the Action Zone. For the inaugural season of the Action Zone, it lasted only one season. And what filled up that hour or hour and a half that was voided when those two shows left? You guessed it. But this is how they did it with this. They would take the seasons that came before the 8th season, which was the start of the Red Sky seasons, and the more darker, action-oriented Ninja Turtles. They took the seasons of Season 7, 4, 5, and 6, and they said, let's put them before the Red Sky episodes and, fill up that 1 hour's worth of Ninja Turtles programming. So anytime you saw the Action Zone's bumper coming on, it said now entering the Action Zone, accessing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you would still get the Red Sky season opening, but the following year you would also get the opening for seasons 4 to 7. That's right. And like I said, anytime they did after they did the program, they said, enter the Action Zone, scanning for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, locked, access now, you'd get the season 4 to season 7 opening with the original theme song. Then, after that half hour, you'd get this, the Red Sky seasons. But yeah, getting back to Skeleton Warriors though, just briefly, it was developed, from what this says, by Landmark Entertainment Group, Gaze Entertainment Incorporation, and Westinghouse Broadcasting International. So yeah. And it ran for 13 episodes. It ran for 13 episodes just like WildC.A.T.S did. But, unlike WildC.A.T.S, it didn't get its DVD release until a few years later. I remember when they made the announcement for this, and I said, you know what? I'm going to go out and I'm going to get it. Because nowadays, the only way you can get this is to pay a lot of money off Amazon. And I still have to get a better disc. Or a better disc case. But the point is, WildC.A.T.S was basically, the point is, the Action Zone was basically was a one-season novelty that really, to me, could have been a lot more. You know, if it wasn't for the restrictions that were coming into place for a lot of the networks at that time, shows like Ninja Turtles, WildC.A.T.S, and Skeleton Warriors could have continued on. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you this. When ABC canned Sonic Sat.AM, I thought to myself, the best place for it to go, if it's going to continue on with a third season or even in reruns, the best place for it to land is CBS and in the Action Zone. That was my thought. That was my belief. That Sonic Sat.AM would be a perfect fit for CBS's Action Zone, especially if the third season was going to be anything like Ben-Hur said. And I think anybody watching would agree with me on that. Unfortunately, that never happened. Now, of course, there were other shows that were action-related too that could have fit well to the Action Zone that CBS had back in the mid-90s, except they never took advantage of it. They never did. So, I mean, heck, I think they were developing a Youngblood show or something back then. Youngblood could have fit right into it. I don't know. You know, to me, the Action Zone, even though it lasted for one season, officially, it only had 3 programs. One that basically took on the branding of the Action Zone for 2 more years, 2 more seasons. I can say this. These shows, along with Skeleton Warriors, could have definitely been a lot more for the Action Zone if the restrictions were being put in place at the time. The Action Zone from CBS was definitely a very novelty idea. I remember a lot of promotion being put into it, comic books. In fact, I think I had one of the comic books that was promoting the Action Zone. That's how much faith and belief that CBS had in this. Unfortunately, like I said, it only lasted 1 season. The best thing I could say about, the one thing I could say, well, not the best thing, but the one thing I could say about the Action Zone is it was a great concept, and it was definitely a great concept by the right network, for the right day, in the right place, but the wrong time frame. And I don't mean that by, 8:30 to 10. No, I'm not. I'm talking basically, it was a great concept. It was a great idea at the, by the right network, aired at the right time, aired on the right day, in the right place, but at the wrong time. I mean, if they'd done this years earlier, they'd done this maybe 2-3 years earlier, maybe the Action Zone would have continued growing and people would be talking about it more and more to this day. Unfortunately, that never happened. And like I said, great concept that was done by the right network, on the right day, in the right place, but at the wrong time. And you could definitely tell other networks or channels tried to take after it. You know, USA Network tried to do it with their Extreme Action Zone, or the Extreme Action Hour, or whatever they called it. Didn't succeed. And, you know, yeah, maybe it lasted maybe a season or two longer, but it just was not the same. It just was not the same. And here was a company, and here was a channel in USA Network that was famous for the USA Cartoon Express, which was another cartoon block. But unfortunately, like I said, CBS's Action Zone, in doing its inaugural and only official year in existence, with the 3 programs that it had. Great concept by the right network, on the right day, at the right place, but at the wrong time. So that's all I can say about CBS's Action Zone. Like I said, I know I'm repeating myself, but it was a great idea, done by the right network, placed on the right day, in the right place, but at the wrong time. That's all I have to say. You guys let me know what you think about the Action Zone. What are your memories about it? And do you think it could have succeeded if it had been done years earlier? Let me know down below. Talk to y'all later.